All right, so welcome back to the Reckless CEO podcast. I'm super excited for today's guest, Mr. Ryan Stewman. It's a cool story because my content guy and your content guy kind of facilitated and got us connected. And my guy didn't know that I followed you for a long time, and so when he brought it up, I was definitely excited to have you on, man. So I appreciate you stepping in and give me some time today, Ryan.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like at this point in the like podcast media world, the alternative media world, we'll call it, like those what's cool is those guys are starting to get to know each other, that if like Cameron, my guy, he's been, in this industry for probably 7 or 8 years. So, he's had to share with a lot of other creators, guys that work on their marketing team and stuff like that. So really what people don't realize these days is some of those dudes are the most connected dudes you can get in all reality,
100%, and especially if they're consistent, because that's also the hard thing to find when it comes to content creators.
Yeah, man. I've got a guy that works for me that does events. And so, dude, he knows everybody in the event space. So anytime I need a speaker or anything like that, he knows everybody. It's easy to get to,
Yeah.
and that works out perfect. So that's really cool that worked out that way.
Yeah, man. I didn't share with him, but I was telling him. So, my kind of journey goes back as well. I got into sales probably about 8 years ago when I moved to Columbus, Ohio. I'm originally from Wheeling, West Virginia, but I moved up here. First job was door-to-door sales. My second job was doing cemetery sales. So I was selling grave plots and headstones. Started out with one location, ended up running 3 or 4 different locations throughout Ohio, and used to make the trip from Columbus to Dayton every day. This was probably 5, 6 years ago. And I used to listen to Hardcore Closer every day. Dude. It was like, that was like my jam on the way to go sell some people some grave plots, man. So I do appreciate all the wisdom.
They were dying to buy from you, man.
That's it, bro. That's my line, man. I'm like, they're dying to come see me.
Man, I feel like I would have been good at selling grave stuff. I've been like, you're gonna pay for it now or later, and later could be super inconvenient. Let's go and get this knocked out now.
100%. And honestly, man, it really helped with my, like empathy and understanding. And, I'm kind of a loud voice. I'm very, I'm type A for sure. And you can't really be like that when you're sitting across from a family that potentially at the hardest moment of their life, right? And so I had to learn how to slow down, use tonality, be able to actually become a salesperson, man. And it was, after that business is when I really started my roofing company. And so I always say that it was like I got the door to door. So I just learned how to go out and hit the pavement. And then I got into that industry, and it really helped me to kind of learn how to actually sell things too.
Yeah, man, I dig it. Um, it's funny, like that's very smart of you to be like, okay, well, I got the door to door thing down, but the thing I'm selling doesn't pay that much. So let me go figure out what pays the most at the door and go sell that thing. Most people never draw those conclusions. They're like, well, I'm really good at selling funeral stuff, but shit, it 5, 10 grand a funeral versus 10 to 20 grand a roof. That's double your value and probably double your commission. So
100%. Yeah, my biggest ever sale in the cemetery industry was a $70,000 above ground mausoleum. I sold it to a guy that owned a dentist practice, and it was like probably my first weekend in the business, Memorial Day, which is like a big cemetery day. And this red Ferrari rolls in, and I just jumped in my golf cart and I followed the guy all the way around, and eventually he stopped and started bullshitting and talking to him. And next thing you know, I ended up talking him into one of the 2 things we had left, ground and above ground. And he got it. So it was, dude, it was fun. But like you said, man, it was a lot of reps, a lot of work for, and it was painful. You know what I mean? Dude, it was after a while, I'm like, man, this is just killing my vibe for sure. But dude. So Ryan, man, again, I appreciate you jumping on today, man. I obviously want to, hear a little bit of kind of your story too, right? I know that you've got quite a story, mortgage industry and, business owning and all the things. So, if you kind of give the guy, give me a little background on you, man, and just kind of catch us up to where we are today.
yeah, I don't know, probably everything you're not supposed to do, I did it in life, and probably got in trouble for most of it. So, I didn't have like a good life to start out with, or good parents or anything like that, and if you we could sit here and tell my miserable ass story for an hour. So it's easy to find that on the internet if you want to be depressed or whatever the case may be, man. But the reality is, it's funny in life how what at the time can seem like a curse and everything else in the end works out to be a blessing. I'm not supposed to be here, and I really don't want to be here, to be honest with you. Not like on the podcast or like on this planet, but like I never in my life was like, one day I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Like that shit is not a dream that I had. Like I get it. Some people, like I listened to Real AF, and Andy's like, oh, my whole life I knew. And I was like, man, my whole life I just want to be a salesman. Really, that was my calling. And I got into a point in 2010 because I'd been to prison a couple times and shit, to where the thing I was selling, I wasn't able to sell it anymore because the licensing distribution changed or whatever the case may be. And like anybody else, you go when you're making good money and you lose a job or that industry goes out of business. Like a couple of years ago, a lot of people were making millions of dollars a year with ERTC stuff. Now that industry's gone, and so I was kind of I was in the mortgage industry, and the Dodd-Frank CPFB, which is what ironically Trump's dismantling now, took me out of the game. They took the licenses from state to federal, and I was on federal parole for a weapons charge, guns charge, and so I couldn't get a license. And so I basically started what today is the podcast social media influencer world. I started that. I pioneered that. I was, if you look, and it's crazy to say this, and I'm like a lot of people's dirty secret, but if you look into pretty much all of your top guys that are in the industry, they all started here. And I don't know how the fuck I didn't wind up at the top. You know what I mean? But again, it's probably because this wasn't my thing. I never was like, yeah, man, I want to be a celebrity. Like, matter of fact, there was a 2-year period where I was in big demand, and I'm flying around meeting all these celebrities and shit. And I had like, I'm not, I had this like, they're not like me. I'm not like them. Maybe that's a better way of saying. I know Kendrick's like, they not like us, but I'm like, I'm not like them. I'm 45 years old now. So let's say in my 40s, I start traveling around, and at first I'm smoking weed with a couple rappers that I'm like listen to my whole life. And then I realized that the more I got into that world, it just wasn't for me. And I know a lot of like, and I'm not a celebrity by any chance, but I know a lot of people say that about going to Hollywood. They're like, dude, I got there and I wanted to be an actor. And then I met everybody and I was like, fuck, now I live on a farm in the middle of Oklahoma. And that's kind of like my situation, to be honest with you. It's like, I thought I wanted to be around all this, man. And then I'm like, oh, wait, those people don't have the same standards and morals. And not some of them, all of them, man. And it kind of created me to go into this little, isolation thing. But I say that because during my 15 years of being an entrepreneur that I didn't want to be, I managed to build a business that's legitimately done well over $100 million in sales and verifiable with my Stripe account. It's not like these fuckers that say I started a business 6 years ago and done 100 million. That's funny. It's taken me 15 years and I got more shit than these guys I see. It's funny, those guys you see that say that. It's like, bro, you don't even have a couch in your living room. What the fuck are you talking about? And so but I really have done that. I've built real businesses. It's not I never wanted to be an influencer or coach, so I've never built like coaching and influence business. We built an events business and a business association, a software business, and a lending business, among other things. And the cool thing, I think, all of that forced me to have to do it all alone. I didn't do it with being promoted. I'll never forget, man, in 2021, I threw in in 2020, I threw a digital virtual event while everybody was locked down, and we had 30,000 people watching live. And I remember like 2, 3 weeks later, Tony Robbins' team calls me and they're like, hey, man, Tony likes what you're doing. He wants you to promote his latest product. I'm like, man, fuck you. The fuck you mean you like what I'm doing so I can sell your shit? Bitch, you're a billionaire, motherfucker. Come sell my shit. I'm on the fucking way up. Get the fuck out of here, bro. But that's how this fucking whole industry is, right? As soon as I start coming up, all these assholes, instead of going, hey, dude, we want to help you, they're like, dude, now that you fucking beat the odds and you're better than us, how about you help us? Like, bitch, get the fuck. So I say that because I did what none of these other guys did. I built this shit without borrowing money from a bank, without being an affiliate syndicate, without kissing these guys' ass or any of that stuff. I built a real business like real people, just like you, Michael, probably built your business in the same way. The SRS and ABC guys probably didn't kiss your ass in the beginning, but they
No.
probably do now, right? So it's kind of the same thing, you know, and it's taken me longer to be honest. You know, I don't really play well with others, obviously, if you haven't caught that from what I'm saying here. But so it's taken me a little bit longer, but I feel like I've done it the right way, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, man, and no, I love all of that, bro. And I think one of I've also built on myself, bootstrapped it, right? Just started out knocking doors. When I started the company, I'd actually never sold a roof before. I had got into real estate investing, got a group of partners. Thing went belly up. They basically pulled all the money out when I had all my resources inside of it, and kind of was left with nothing, right? And it's like, what do you do? And a mentor of mine was like, you start a roofing company. I'm like, bro, I don't know anything about roofing. And he's like, dude, you like sales. You like, I played hockey growing up and whatnot. So he's like, you know how to build a culture. He's like, I'm telling you, bro, you should get into roofing. And that day I literally filed the LLC and got on YouTube and was just researching, how do you start a roofing company? What's everything you need to know? And then, now we're heading into our fourth season. We've got 40 employees and, but what I love with all of that, just like you're saying, is that without having those resources and the connections, and when I moved to Columbus, I was sleeping in my truck. I didn't have anybody, right? But it's forced me, the development that I've had of as a human being and as a leader is the best part about all of that, right? Because real people know real people, and when you get people that are working in your business and they want to like, I've always led by example, or I'm never going to ask you to do something that I wouldn't do. If I've done it and fucked it up, I'm gonna save you from having to do it yourself. And I think that a good culture, it's like becomes glue. It's like sticky. It brings the right people in when you're leading it the right way. And so no different than what you're saying. The businesses, the things that you've built, you didn't need those resources as much as people think you need them. It's just you got to be willing to go out and do what most aren't willing to do.
You know, in your industry, I think this should be a good PSA, my man, because like in your industry, people will hear your story or Kurt Lennington's story or Brandon James or any of these other guys that I've known over the years that have amazing stories, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to go start my own business. And I, you know, let's say a guy works for, I hear this story from the guys that I talk to a lot that are my friends that are in roofing. It's like, you know, hey, I raised this guy up, man. He made 300 grand a year and now he's competing against me and fucking blah, 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 and all this other shit, right? Let me tell you guys story of a entrepreneur versus a salesman. As a salesman, I was ungrateful now that I own a business. I was ungrateful for the stress the owner of the companies. I only had like 3 jobs in my life because I'm pretty loyal, but the stress for those companies owners, I can't imagine. I worked for a mortgage company in 2010 when Dodd-Frank was taking place, and we weren't sure. First of all, they had pulled our warehouse line, which meant we didn't have money to loan anymore because the country was uncertain of what documents to draw in order to close a mortgage. So there was a 3 week time period where motherfuckers just couldn't, no matter how rich and powerful, most businesses can't go 3 weeks without income.
No.
Right.
No.
Like I didn't understand that at the time. I'm like, shit, man, fuck, we ain't been able to close nothing in 3 weeks, not realizing that my CEO's fucking bills, like I might have had a car payment and a house payment. He's got everything payment, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, for 3 weeks where he's used to, probably in that company, $1 million a day came into that thing. So 3 weeks goes by, you're 21 million fucking dollars light. And it
Yeah.
might have been 2 million a day. That's the size company it was, right? And you think, oh, well, he should have had all that money saved up. It's like, fuck, you're growing a company and paying taxes, right?
Yeah.
But
100%. 100%.
now,
You put everything into it, man. You know what I mean? And then, I mean, you couldn't hit the nail more on the head, right? Is that's the, I think as an owner, that's one of the most stressful things because you can't show it either, right?
and
It's like you
oftentimes,
got to have the grounds crumbling underneath of you, and you got to walk in, and because if the second that it's like sharks in the water, right? They smell blood, and all of a sudden it's
sure.
just panic, and so it's like you always got to be between that 4 and a 7 all the time. You get too low or you get too high, man, everything starts to shake.
Yeah, yeah, and and on the flip side, in 2005, I became an entrepreneur for the first time, and it was a side hustle, but I had a LLC and was doing my thing, you know. So I'm originating mortgages and then I'm flipping houses on the side. It's where a lot of entrepreneurs find their entry into the world,
Yep.
right? Flipping houses. And I remember like a Tuesday, I went and I had like a jar that I'd been putting quarters and nickels in. You remember back in the early 2000s, the 90s, I had a jar that I'd been putting quarters and nickels and shit in. And in order to get into that jar, you had to break it, right? That was like the way they used to make piggy banks. So I probably had this thing for a few years and I break it and there's like, I don't know, 40 fucking dollars in it. That's how broke I am. I went out there and I got earnest money on like 5 or 6 properties at 2 or 5 grand a piece. So like every dollar that I've ever made and saved up in my career is now floating out there in earnest money
Yep.
to flip these houses, right? And it's non-refundable earnest money. And if these houses don't close within the next week by that Friday, so Tuesday, I'm counting pennies by that, but not that Friday, but the next Friday, if the shit don't close, then I'm just like bankrupt for real. And I remember, man, getting down to I went and bought a bunch of Totino's pizzas that I could put in the oven, and they were like 99 cents a piece. So if I got 40 bucks, I could go buy like 20 or 30 of them and at least have those. And I've got a few days worth of pizzas I could cook. Like like I didn't ever have to do that as a sales guy, but I've had to do that as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur multiple times. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Mhm.
There was a time when we were growing so fast that I spent $12 million in 60 days just to keep the motherfucking our head above water to be able to keep up with the volume that was coming in. I never had to deal with those kind of shit as a salesman. It's like, hey, we got more leads, good for us. That's just more sales, right? So,
Yep.
and again, I don't like I'm not trying to deter anybody from it, but the point of this show being the CEO, a lot of people don't realize what CEOs go through. Me being a business lender, I loan money to every industry, man, from guns to roofs to construction to real estate. We loan all things money business, dude. And man, I could tell you some stories,
Yeah.
especially the situations that, a lot of people come to us to get a line of credit when things are going good and they're growing and stuff. And then some people come to us when someone ripped them off or the IRS surprised them with a number or some shit like that. A job went bad, a customer didn't pay that owes up $200,000. Or I one time loaned a guy a couple $100,000 so he can make payroll because Verizon went from 30 to 60-day payout time. So it's like out of nowhere, he's thinking he's going to get paid. And they're like, nope, we just changed it to 60. You got another 30 days where you're not getting 6 figures worth of fucking payments we owe you. Good luck with your payroll. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people don't see this side of being a CEO. And I think if they did, then people wouldn't be like, hey, we should tax the rich and we should tax the CEOs. He should be like, we should pray for those motherfuckers because they need.
No, man, you're well, I think that's what, social media, it makes it look a lot sweeter than it is a lot of times. You know what I
I
mean?
hate
Because it's
that too,
like
man.
it's the cars and the this and the that, and it's no different than like you said. It's like, I've been, I found in my business we're going into that fourth year, right? And there's a lot of businesses that, you hit that 2 3 year mark. It's that, you don't really learn. Anyone can sell, anyone can create an idea, right? My biggest bottleneck or struggle in growing a business is learning cash flow, right? And learning how to manage that. And then you can't oversee it all. So then you hire people that, have a title and they've done it before. And then you realize that you know more about it than most of the people that have the titles, right? And so it's like you take all these, you know, licks along the way, and so much of it is like you're just lucky to survive, and people want to, they see how great it is, so they want to start this business. And it's like, and the other side of it is that most people don't realize that if you're, as a CEO, the key is to build an asset, right? Build something you can sell, build
Yeah.
something that's got some value to it, because if not, you might as well just be selling and go sell somewhere else. Because if you're not building an asset, then you're just creating a job that you're going to have forever, right? And it takes a lot of time to learn how to make something sellable, make something be an asset, actually have a value of the business that's not just get a client, build a product, right? It's like there's a lot of pieces to that that's got to be, that's got to be there, that is hard to build when you're also trying to keep it up and moving at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you know, for those of you thinking about being an entrepreneur, wait until you fire somebody because they didn't do their job correctly. And then they like maybe go give your business a 1-star review, or maybe they just say some shit that's not true online. And then after doing all that, they go to the unemployment office and you still got to pay them, even though you fired them and they talk shit about you.
Yeah, man.
I mean,
And
like,
and
people
even
have no idea. Or how about this? How about paying 12% of your payroll every month just because the government says in order to pay employees, you have to pay us taxes on the money that you pay your employees that pay taxes, by the way.
that's all
Like
taxed in. Yeah, I
it's
mean, dude, it's a crazy system, man.
and,
You
and
know,
with your business in the roofing, cash flow's hard because, like, a lot of that's dependent on storm season, when the insurance pays out, what time of season the year is. Like, you guys could be, I see it all the time. We just did a loan for somebody last month that, shit, in September, October, some motherfuckers were doing $5-6 million a month, but their area snows, so you can't get on a roof all winter. So
yep.
for 4 months, they're making payroll just trying to keep people fucked. So 1 month before the season starts again, they're fucking out of money, but then they're rich for 7 months again. You know
Oh,
what I mean? Like, it's
oh,
a crazy manageable cash flow business you're in.
it is, and so much of it, and that's where on our side, we're Columbus, Ohio, same thing, right? We're just it's sunning at right, so it's just starting to turn that a little bit now, and that's one of the big. And then you've got your receivables, and you're fighting with insurance companies to collect the receivables, and so that for us or as a CEO, my goal right now is kind of scaling out our retail model. Right, selling more standing seam metal, stone coated metal roofs, like getting into a more of a value product because if not, you've got no predictability in the business. Like, right, even if you're running ads and social media, it's like, all right, it still takes 3 months to close a deal or 60 days to close a deal. So it's like you have to, in order to create the machine of it, you've got to almost build a lane that isn't the low hanging fruit is the insurance, right? Anybody can start a roofing company. I say the greatest thing about it is low barrier to entry. The worst thing about it is low barrier to entry, right? Anybody can get into it, and that's the difference of the businesses that can sustain and grow. And if you look at the oldest, around our area, you got 20, 30-year-old companies, dude, they're all retail, right? They get out of the insurance thing because they realize that the biggest constraint and bottleneck inside the business is all through the one thing that everyone runs the business on, which is insurance.
Yeah. You know, uh, some of these guys that I do business with, like in California, is not an insurance state, for
Mhm.
example. And their approach to roofing and stuff out there is completely different. It's a lot of like what you said, cosmetic and, upgrade on the house to make it maybe more efficient and green and shit like that. So it's like a totally different sales pitch versus, you own a free roof, the insurance will pay for it. You know what I mean? Totally
Right.
different, dude.
And
So,
so many people are waiting on that too, right? They're like, hey, man, I'll just wait till a storm comes through. And,
yeah.
you start the business and you're selling how great insurance is. 4 years in, I'm like, fuck insurance. It sucks. No one wants to get out of it, right? It's like you got to change it, change everything. With the capital company, is that closer capital then? Is it,
Yeah.
can you share a little bit about kind of, I know you said you guys kind of, serve a lot of different niches and whatnot, but is it more of like cash advance funding or is it, more of a short term, long term? Like, what's that all look like?
Yeah, I started this business because and I've been in business. This is our 17th month. So although I've been a lender my whole career as an adult since I was like 24 years old, I've always done it for someone else, and I never started my own business. And I took about 7 years out of the game to where I did my own deals, but in private money stuff, but I wasn't offering stuff to the public. But about a year ago, a little over a year ago, let's say 2 years ago, I noticed everybody on the internet and it starts like asking for money. So you have all these seemingly rich people raising money. Hey, put money in my fund. And I get it. Cardone started that, right? And he had the right thing. He's smart. He's like, dude, I got a community and I want to buy real estate and fucking crowdsource this shit. Brilliant, right? But everybody else now all of a sudden is raising money and blah blah blah. So like every time you turn around, somebody's got a fund or they're buying businesses, and like that's it's like, you know, if everybody is a drunk and you stay sober, you got to have a big advantage over everybody else,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
kind of so everybody's drunk on raising money from their communities, which we watched a lot of those people ruin their reputation over that. I've never borrowed money from people because I never had a foreshore plan that I could pay them back with, right? Like,
Yep.
and I don't want to be the bearer of I lost your life savings. Like, I don't want to fucking be that guy.
Yep.
So I thought, okay, well, what is nobody else in this industry doing? There's guys that sell insurance, there's guys that raise money. It's like nobody's helping business owners with what they truly need the most, which is money.
Yeah.
And so It's crazy because I originally partnered with one of my clients and they are a lender. And I put like $20 million in the pipeline within like the first couple of weeks. And then, dude, they started calling my people behind my back, offering them different deals than they were offering us. It's like, you could just offer that deal to me and I would have offered it to them. I don't know what the fuck you're doing here. Like,
Yeah.
some people, man, they can't see the forest for the trees. So, that shit would have quadrupled their monthly volume, but now they get zero. So I had to like pivot after a month of figuring some shit out there. And then, what I realized was that a lot of these banks have one lane, like you said, cash advance or SBA or whatever. So over the last year, me and my team went out and set up alliances with hundreds of banks and lenders. So we do capital infusion, cash advance, lines of credit, buying commercial property, investing in investment, corporate owned real estate. We do bridge loans, we do SBA loans, we do huge development loans, like anything a business would borrow money for, that's what we do. And so I wanted to become this resource because, like, there's been times where, I've never borrowed money for my business, but there's damn sure been nights where I've looked into it, right? And so, but there wasn't one place I could go that would give me like last year, for example. I took a hit on a fucking event, bro, and lost $500,000 on it first time in my career, and I had just got done with paying a unexpected additional seven-figure tax bill like 3 or 4 months prior to that. So this shit just wiped me the fuck out, right? So I'm looking at maybe refinancing my house or my building and pulling some cash out of it. And again, I hate to go further into debt, but I'm like, maybe that's my only choice. And dude, even at that point, it was so convoluted just to get a home equity loan on either my house or my building. And I'm like, dude, we got to fucking nail this. So what we did was we created a smooth process that makes us different than other banks for the following reasons. You can come to us and we can find you the money. You tell us what you need. And if you're like, not everybody's bankable. If you got shit credit, no income coming in, we can't fucking help you, right? But
Right.
if you got your shit together and you got a good plan and you got money, like we have people come to us and they're like, yeah, I want to borrow $10 million. Okay, how much money do you have in the bank? Well, I got like 50 grand. That's not going to work, right? You need to really qualify for it. But we created a place where if you qualify for it, we will find it for you. And on top of that, we educate our people. I've been, in the mastermind Apex game for 15 fucking years. So our people that borrow $100,000 or more for us, we give them access to our training, our marketing, all that stuff, because we want them to go to the next level and our training will help them. Then we do consults with them. So we talk, like, once we loan you the money, we're like, hey, what are you going to spend it on? And a lot of times people are like, oh, I got to pay this debt or this bill. And like, that's fucking stupid. Here, set this funnel up, go run ads to this, get the leads in, use the money from the leads you're getting to pay off the fucking debt, but use the money from us to invest into something that's going to actually cash flow you capital. So we just change the conversation, educate the person. Plus, we put people that borrow over 100 grand with us, we put them in a private community to where you're in there with other business owners. It didn't cost you nothing. There's no mastermind membership fee, but everybody in that fucking group at least could borrow 6 figures from a bank with their business. So they've got to have it going on to some level, right?
Yeah, man. Dude, that's awesome, man. And I love that because it's like you said, you're not so much with most lenders as they handcuff you. Right. That and I mean, even with our business right now, I mean, I got Huntington coming in here to meet after I get off this call, right? Talking about different lines of credit, debt consolidation, right? You're coming out of a cold season, you borrow on other lenders or cash advance, like all these things to, like you say, sort of keep the business afloat, keep it surviving. But then what they do as well is that then they handcuff you too, because then you get in this position where it's like, all right, well, now we can help you, but it's going to cost you 20%. It's going to cost you, a 6 month cash advance that you got to take until you can then bridge it with an SBA. But then the SBA loan, now that's a whole nother, and you just get in the position to where it's, you just get stuck in the system. And so what I love with what you're doing is that you're not only being the resource and supporting it, but educating the people, because I think that's what the biggest struggle in business is that you don't know how to manage the money. You don't know how to manage the cash flow. And a lot of times when you're ready to learn, it's too late because you're getting forced to learn, right? I mean, I know that in myself, I look at our business year over year. I wasn't a financial guy. That was never my, I can get a room fired up. I can recruit. I can sell. I can build the dream. I can sell the vision. but I didn't know anything about finances, right? And so you ignore those things, right? You say in your lane, you say what you're good at because you know you're good at that. But unfortunately, a business cycle, you're never going to break the cycle until you start to address the things that your weak points are, right? Being able to understand a P&L, know what a balance sheet is, right? These things that if you're not educated and taught, you're either forced into it when it's, dire need, or and that makes it the hardest thing. And so what's awesome what you guys are doing, that you're not only helping and supporting, but you're actually helping people to know like financial literacy. And where most banks, they don't care. It's like, all right, yeah, we'll lend it to you, good luck, we actually hope you probably default on it, you know what I mean? And it's fucked up, man.
It is, man. And people forget, especially when they're up there in the age, they forget what it was like to start their credit journey. So like when you bought your first car, I don't when I went and financed my first vehicle, I was probably 21, and I paid a higher interest rate for it because I didn't have any credit history. And my first house, the interest rate was a lot higher than the house that I'm in right now. It's the same way in the business world. If you've not ever had any money loaned to you and proof that it can be paid back, then you start in the private money world. What we try to do, man, is we're like another thing everybody's doing right now in my industry is they will take equity, right? Hey, yeah, I'll coach you for equity, or hey, make me a partner and I'll take some of your revenue. I don't want to do that either. I want to be your partner, but I want to be a partner that's only there with benefits, not a partner with subtractions to your business. So I'm going to treat you like we have equity in your company, even though I don't owe anything. And matter of fact, our loans are non-recourse anyway, right? Like, so a lot of our loans are non-recourse. Meaning if you don't pay it back, then there's nothing we can do because we don't report to your credit. It's private money. But that's how we get you on base, right? So let's say you did have to take a 20% interest rate your first time. Then after 3 months of paying on it, you can refinance out of that thing. And let's say that it's 15%. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, right? Because what people also don't realize is that your mortgage that's at 6 or 7% right now, that's the safest asset in America. The lowest interest rate you're going to get is going to be on a house, right? The next lowest interest rate is going to be a car. Car's riskier because you can wreck a car, right? But it's got insurance, but it's still a little bit riskier than a house. Everything on top of that starts double digits, like everything. You know what I mean? Now, you might have fixed single digits for a short period of time. Like you might have a credit card that says a low APR to go to this or whatever the case may be. But even if you have an 800 credit score with the SBA getting a business loan night right now, and you got all your ducks in a row, you're looking at 12% if your shit is perfect. Just to put it in perspective, because it's not a house, it's a business. And if they come foreclose on that business, if the SBA forecloses on that business and you say fuck it and walk away, then the business is built around you, the culture, the SOPs, the knowledge, the IP. They're fucked, and they know that, so they have to price that risk in there. So oftentimes business owners, you're like, man, 15%, that's fucking crazy. My mortgage is 3%. Yes, you got it in 2022. It's 2025. That's a safe asset that if it gets foreclosed on, it's appreciated over the years. Your business could go down over the years. Like, your business could have peaked in 2019 and been steadily going down ever since. And so if I wrote you a loan in 2019 and I got to come foreclose on it in 2026 and the shit's gone down 20% a year, I'm foreclosed on nothing.
Yep.
Right. So it's important to educate people like that. The other thing that a lot of folks don't understand is that and I give this scenario all the time, if you want to make 100 grand, right? Like you want to go out and earn 100 grand. So you as the CEO, in order for you to get a true 100 grand, it has to be net, right? You've already paid taxes on it and everything else. Or you've already paid your expenses on it. And then you've got what's left, your bottom line that you'll be taxed on. So technically not your net, but your EBITDA that you're going to be taxed on, right? So if I go make 100 grand and then I wind up with 100 grand, I'm taxed on it, it's really 65 grand. If I go borrow 100 grand, I really get 100 grand. So I've got $35,000 more. And if I got to pay 20% in interest, let's just say using your number, that's another 20 grand. It's still cheaper than taxes. And guess what? That 20 grand is tax deductible that I can write off towards my tax. That 100 grand is debt, so it's not taxable at all. So if I borrow 100 grand, then what actual smart business owners do, and we have a couple that do this with us, And this is how your Amazons, your Apples, your Goldman Sachs operate. They take out an equal amount of debt to match their cash flow to where they're always in so much debt based on their cash flow, they don't pay taxes.
Mm,
Right. So if I have my payroll and everything come, just think about this for a minute. If I borrow money to cover my payroll and everything else, and then my payments, my cash flow coming in covers the interest and all of that, then I'm not paying taxes. I'm offsetting debt with cash flow.
yeah.
Right. And so there's so many ways that companies can use financial assistance like what we offer at Closer Capital that they've never thought about. We had a guy the other day that was buying one of his competitors for a couple $1 million, and the SBA wanted 20% down for him to be able to buy that. He had another couple SBA loans, and he's like, "Shit, I'm a little light on the money." He was about 100 grand short. We went and got him a capital infusion loan for a completely separate one-off business that he owned that he had as a side hustle. Got him 100 grand. He used that 100 grand as down payment to get in there without using any money out of pocket. Probably in 6 months, when the rates go down, because they're going to, in 6 months the rates go down, we'll refinance both of those loans into one, and
Boom.
he's set. And it didn't cost him anything out of pocket. We actually loaned him all the money he was going to need for the down payment anyway.
Dude, yeah, man. I mean, that's incredible, bro. And that's the shit you don't learn, right? Or you're not taught at least, right?
21
You
years
learn, but
in
you,
the industry.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The only way I've learned is not from a book or doing it myself. For
Right.
21 years of doing probably 10,000 transactions at this point,
Yeah, dude,
realistically.
that's
Man,
unreal, bro.
a light number.
That's awesome, dude. No, I mean, I'm actually, I definitely want to follow up on that as well, because that's something that, on our end definitely is a valuable thing. Like, this, especially in this industry, it's very cyclical. You're always riding that. And, and I think that from a company standpoint, like it takes a couple years to get professionalized, right?
Yeah.
It's like the things that matter year four, you're not paying attention to those year 1 and 2, right? And that's I'd say for us, the direction we're going now, where it's like, all right, man, let's get more professional. Now we're documenting SOPs and we're creating things. We've got, a consistent way of bringing people on. And, I remember when a guy come in 2 years ago, dude, you got a pulse, you don't need experience. Here's a ladder, here's some boots, go, right? And those guys would struggle to find success. And a lot of times you lose good people because you can't support them when they come in, and they don't, not everybody is that type of person that can just jump in and go, right? And so now it's really cool to see. We brought a hiring class of 10 guys in, 2 weeks ago. And, these guys are already getting out. They're already generating lead. Like, things are happening for them so fast, where it was like, that was the 1% before. Now, 50, 60, 70% of the people that are coming in they actually have a success plan. They've got a roadmap. I've got leaders that are helping them, get there as well. And so I think that, that's one of the most important things, is just surviving that kind of survival side of the business. And then it's, now you professionalize. Now you learn how to actually leverage the capital. I mean, there was times where you're borrowing it and you're like, I don't know where's fucking going. It's just bring it in here, and now we just got to make sure we're selling something, and just to keep it up, man. So I mean, that's awesome what you guys are doing over there, man. That's unreal.
The big thing we do for the construction world, roofing, plumbing, is, we see it a lot. And I always tell everybody to set this up beforehand, because, like, let's say that you do a lot of residential insurance stuff, but now all of a sudden you got a $300,000 commercial roof that you can pick up, but your line of credit at SRS or ABC is not big enough to float all that. And so you can come to us, get a revolving line of credit. And when you get those big jobs, it takes you 90 days to finish the job, man. You're not carrying, even if the interest rate on that revolving line of credit was 50%, which it's not, but I'm just saying, even if it was, if you broke that down monthly, that's like 4% monthly.
Yeah.
You're only going to keep that thing 60 to 90 days. You'd only to pay 12% on that anyway, if it was a crazy interest rate, right?
Yeah.
So the reason why I say that is, like, and this is good advice for all of your guys, right? When you're at peak production, so this June, this July, this August, when you motherfuckers are putting up $3 or $4 million a month, and you have for 2 or 3 months in a row, come see me. Come see me now, and we can get you started. But come see me at your peak for sure, so that I can take the last 3 to 5 months worth of badass bank statements, get you the biggest line of credit. And you don't have to draw on the line of credit. That's the beautiful thing. We make you take $10,000 at closing, but you can pay it immediately back. Doesn't fucking matter. But I get paid every time you draw on it, so there's no fee every time. It just they deposit into my account whatever the size draw is. So I want you to use that thing for years, obviously, because I'm very transparent about how we get paid. But having that shit set up the biggest possible with you, the most successful peak of your market. So, like, let's say that today you came in and got a loan and it was your first loan, and we gave you a high risk loan to get you started. Then 6 months from now, at the end of the roofing season, you absolutely killed it. Now you've paid that back. We got you a loan for two, 300, maybe $500,000 line of credit. So what happens is the next time you get a big deal and you're bidding against everybody else, you ain't got to be cash strapped. Then you can just draw against my line of credit, go get your materials, and you can sleep good at night knowing your cash is still sitting in the account.
Yeah. No, and I mean, I've seen companies go out of business because they get a big job like that and right don't have the capital to facilitate it. You know, it looks like it's going to be this cash cow of a job, and then it gets drug out and things happen, and next thing what looked like 50% profit, now all of a sudden you're upside down because you can't support it.
Yeah, now you got to get a second mortgage to pay for a job you did for free to somebody.
Yeah, man. No, man, dude, this is awesome, brother. Dude, I appreciate you jumping on, man, and sharing, all the wisdom and everything today, man. I think that I know myself and the listeners will definitely find value of it, man. This has been a great conversation, dude. I appreciate you coming in today, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's nice to hang out with you, and I'm glad that our people talked to each other and got us connected on here, man.
Yeah, man. What is obviously what's the best way for people to reach out to you, find you if they listen to this or interested? I know, Closure Capital, but what's kind of the best way to get connected?
I'm on Facebook, Ryan Stewman, with the verified check or whatever, and then same thing, Hardcore Closer on Instagram. So those are the only two profiles that like they both have blue checks. They're both like really me. Those anything else you might have talked to somebody on the internet, it's not fucking me, right? That Facebook and Instagram only. If you want to apply for a loan, you can go to closercap.com and fill out the information there. Someone on my team will reach out to you. I have really, really, really sharp people working for me in the lending side. They're not just random people I picked off the streets and said, "Can you make phone calls and talk to people?" They're all from a financial background. They've all spent at least 5 years in finance in their career. So they're the people you talk to over there aren't just like Stewman's homies that he put in over there. They're very intelligent, smart financial people because that's what it takes to be successful in the financial business. We have to solve a puzzle for people, and it takes somebody who's got a lot of experience to be able to solve those puzzles. Because if we solve it wrong for you, it could cost you your business.
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, that's awesome, brother. Well, dude, Ryan, I appreciate you jumping on, man. I hope I get to connect with you in the future again someday, man. And I'll definitely be in touch. And when this gets released, I'll let you know as well, man. So thanks for jumping on today, bro.
Appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. We'll see you.